Thanks for joining us here at 6:30. I'm Alex Dieterer. A man is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries after a shooting last night on Broadway. LMPD says the shooting happened around 11:20 last night in the parking lot outside the Dino's Food Mark on West Broadway. When officers arrived, they found a man who was shot in his head. LMPD says the man was still alive when he was transported to the hospital, but that the homicide unit will lead the investigation. Anyone with information should call the anonymous tip line. That number is 574 LMPD. And new tonight, racist texts are being sent around the nation to Black Americans. Sources tell WHAS11 that these messages were received by young people in Louisville, too. We don't have information on how many of these messages were received right here in Louisville, but community leaders say the references to slavery and cotton picking are alarming. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Aspen Hester spoke with local advocates tonight. And Alexandra, how are they reacting this evening?
Alex, community leaders are calling these texts utterly horrifying. And the Louisville Urban League president and CEO Lyndon Pryor says the messages are causing harm to Black youth. And he spoke with several concerned parents in Louisville who have questions. Why this hateful text? How did they get this information? And will my child be targeted again? Now, this is an example of a text sent to a young Black person in Louisville. Our sources confirmed the first texts they heard of were sent on Wednesday. That's one day after the election. And Lyndon says this is a product of divisive political rhetoric nationwide. He says both the concern and the focus is the impact on young people, and says this requires families and schools to have tough conversations.
What is a young person supposed to do when they receive this? How does this isolate people in a country that is their home, in cities that are their home?
FBI and LMPD earlier this evening to see if these agencies are investigating at a local level. We have not heard back. And ABC News is reporting that the FBI and other agencies are investigating this nationally. ABC News also confirmed that the messaging app used to generate these phone numbers, called Text Now, has shut down at least one account that allegedly sent the texts. We'll continue to follow this story as we get more details. Live in the studio, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11, on your side.
All right, thank you, Alexandra. President-elect Donald Trump is pushing forward with his transition team as he prepares for his second term in the White House. Trump has already chosen his chief of staff, Susie Summerall Wiles. Wiles is the first woman to hold the position. ABC shows us how Trump is continuing to add to his team.
President-elect Donald Trump will return to the White House for the first time since he left office nearly 4 years ago. President Biden extending the invitation for the two men to meet in the Oval Office on Wednesday.
Elon Musk!
As the transition to a second Trump presidency continues to move forward, growing questions about what role Elon Musk could have in the Trump administration. Sources tell ABC News Musk has been on calls the president-elect has had with foreign leaders from Mar-a-Lago, including Ukrainian President Zelensky and Turkish President Erdogan. At one point, Musk speaking to Zelensky himself, who thanked the tech billionaire for his Starlink system, which Ukraine has relied on for communications during its war with Russia.
We have a new star. A star is born. Elon.
Musk has proposed a new Department of Government Efficiency, saying he can slash $2 trillion of waste from the federal budget.
We have liftoff.
But since his company SpaceX currently receives billions of dollars in federal government contracts, a role in the administration could create conflicts of interest. Meanwhile, just days after Harris's devastating loss, Democrats now starting to assess what went wrong. Former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi telling the New York Times she thinks the party would have benefited from President Biden dropping out earlier, saying there may have been other candidates in the race. The anticipation was that if the president were to step aside, that there would be an open primary. Adding that a competitive primary may have helped the vice president, saying, quote, I think she would have done well in that and been stronger going forward. But we don't know that. That didn't happen. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Now that he's making his cabinet announcements, let's take a look at President-elect Trump's top priorities when he takes office. So Trump's team is working on his day one priorities. That includes launching mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. Some experts estimate it could cost $88 billion a year. Trump told ABC News there is no choice. He's also pitched ending birthright citizenship, which would certainly require a change in the Constitution. Taxes are also on the list. His tax policies heavily lean toward corporations and wealthy Americans. His overhaul includes lowering the corporate income tax rate to 15% from the current 21%. He also plans to roll back tax hikes on the wealthiest Americans. Now, a big question mark in his policies, will he really enact tariffs? Trump has called for tariffs of 10 to 20% on foreign goods. That's led to companies making major cuts. Steve Madden cut 45% of their imported goods as it prepares for Trump to take office. The National Retail Federation has been critical of the proposal. According to their study, the tariffs could reduce American spending power by $46 billion. For example, they said an $80 pair of jeans would increase to $90 or $96 as consumers eat the cost. Republicans now hold the White House and the Senate, and it seems they will continue to hold the House. There are still 22 races in play, but Republicans have already expanded their majority by flipping 3 seats. In the Senate, Republicans have already flipped 4 seats. Only 1 seat has yet to be called. That's the seat in Arizona, where Republican Kari Lake is challenging Democrat Ruben Gallego. The race there is extremely tight, with only 1 point separating the 2 candidates. And with these majorities, the fight over school choice may not be over just yet. Trump has been a strong ally of school choice and may find more support for proposals for federal choice fizzled out during his first term. However, there is still an uphill climb for the proposals. Several of these measures suffered high-profile defeats in states where Trump won. Kentuckians overwhelmingly voted against a school choice amendment that would allow the state to send public money to private schools. During Team Kentucky this week, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said there should be no more arguments on school choice.
This should end any and all debate, and this should end any attempts to take money away from our public schools to send them to unaccountable private schools. So now let's focus on the work of fully funding our public schools, providing our educators with real raises, and implementing universal pre-K all across the Commonwealth. The people have spoken, and it's our job to carry their will forward.
Still, Trump's victory brings new optimism to advocates supporting school choice. One of the main priorities would be tax credits for donations to organizations that provide private school scholarships. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help to identify people they say were involved in a copper theft. The Sheriff's Office says this truck right here and the trailer was used recently to carry out the high-value theft in Shelby County. They're now offering a $1,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of the involved suspect. If you have information, you can call the number here at the bottom of your screen. That number is 502-633-4324.